The Desperate Call. The story opens in the peaceful Vega system, where the gentle Kalari species has lived for thousands of years. The Kalari are a species of tall, blue-skinned beings who value art, music, and peaceful trade. Their world of Vega Prime is covered in crystal cities and floating gardens. Captain Nix of the Kalari Defense Fleet receives urgent reports from their outer colonies. The Ravagers have arrived, a brutal alien species known across the galaxy for consuming entire worlds and enslaving populations. The Ravagers are massive, insect-like creatures, with black armor and red eyes that glow in the dark. They travel in huge swarm ships that block out the sun. The Kalari military tries to fight back, but their weapons are designed for peacekeeping, not war. Their energy shields fail quickly against the Ravagers' acid cannons and plasma bombs. Within hours, 3 outer colonies fall silent. The crystal cities burn and the floating gardens crash to the ground. Captain Nix sends emergency signals to all known civilizations in the galaxy. The message is simple. This is the Kalari Republic. We are under attack by the Ravagers. Our defenses have failed. Please help us. We offer all our trade resources and knowledge in exchange for military aid. Most species ignore the call. The mighty Zephyrians are too busy with their own wars. The tech-advanced Crystallians say they cannot spare ships. The wise elders of Proxima claim it is not their concern. One by one, each species either refuses or makes excuses. Just when hope seems lost, a strange signal comes from a distant corner of the galaxy. It comes from a small blue and green planet called Earth. The voice is rough and speaks in simple words. We got your message. Humans are coming. Hold your position. The Kalari have never heard of humans before. Their computer files show Earth as a young world with a primitive species that only recently discovered space travel. Captain Nix wonders what help such a young race could possibly offer against the feared Ravagers, but it is their only hope. Humanity mobilizes. On Earth, Admiral Kane sits in the Global Defense Command Center, watching the alien distress signal replay on the main screen. The message from the Kalari shows burning cities and fleeing civilians. Earth's best scientists and military leaders gather around the holographic display. Sir, our intelligence shows the Ravagers destroyed 12 species in the past 50 years, reports Colonel Ross, pointing to a star map. They strip mine planets and use the locals as slave labor. The Kalari won't last more than 2 weeks. Admiral Kane studies the data. Earth has been preparing for this moment ever since they detected hostile alien activity 5 years ago. While other species focused on trade and diplomacy, humans built weapons. Lots of weapons. Send the signal to all fleets, Kane orders. Operation Thunder begins now. Across Earth's solar system, massive ships power up their engines. These are not the sleek, elegant vessels of other species. Human ships are thick, armored blocks of metal covered in weapon systems. The flagship Terra's Wrath carries enough firepower to level a moon. Smaller destroyers and cruisers swarm around it like angry hornets. But the real surprise waits in Earth's asteroid belt. Hidden mining stations transform into military factories. Giant railguns emerge from camouflaged positions. Earth has turned its entire outer system into a fortress. General Hayes commands the ground forces loading into transport ships. Human Marines check their plasma rifles, kinetic cannons, and explosive devices. Unlike other species who fight with energy weapons, humans love projectile weapons that punch through armor. The aliens think we're primitives, Hayes tells his troops over the comm system. Let's show them what primitives can do when we're angry. The human fleet jumps to hyperspace, but they don't head straight to Vega. Instead, they make stops at 3 different systems to pick up special cargo. Earth has been secretly building weapon caches throughout this part of the galaxy for years. Captain Stone of the destroyer Iron Fist coordinates with supply ships. They load nuclear warheads, antimatter bombs, and something called planet crackers. Weapons so powerful that most civilized species banned them long ago. Meanwhile, back at Vega Prime, the Ravagers continue their assault. Captain Nix watches helplessly as more colonies fall. The insect-like invaders land ground troops that tear apart Kalari cities with their claws and acid spit. The blue-skinned civilians flee to underground shelters, but the Ravagers dig them out. Any word from the humans? asks Commander Vex, Nix's second in command. Nothing yet, Nix replied, staring at the tactical display. Maybe they changed their minds. Maybe they realized this is hopeless. But then space itself seems to tear open near the outer edge of the system. Portal after portal opens as human ships drop out of hyperspace. The Kalari sensors go crazy trying to count them all. Captain, reports the sensor officer, I'm reading 200 human vessels. No, wait, 500, 800. The number keeps climbing. The human fleet is massive and every ship bristles with weapons that the Kalari computers can't even identify. First contact with violence. The Ravager commanders aboard their swarm ships. Notice the new arrivals immediately. The insect-like aliens have conquered dozens of species and they recognize the signs of a military fleet. But these ships look different, crude and heavily armed rather than elegant. War leader Crix, the largest of the Ravager commanders, opens communications to the human fleet. His voice sounds like grinding metal. Unknown vessels, you enter Ravager territory. Leave now or become food for our young. The response comes from Admiral Kane aboard Terra's Wrath. This is the human defense fleet. You have attacked our allies. You have 30 seconds to surrender or we will destroy you. Crix laughs, a sound like breaking glass. Humans. We have no record of this species. Your ships are small and few. We are the Ravagers. We have devoured civilizations for 1,000 years. 20 seconds, Kane replies calmly. The Ravagers have faced many species. The proud Zephyrians with their energy lances, the technical Crystallians with their reality-bending weapons, all fell before Ravager numbers and brutality. These humans seem no different. 10 seconds. Crix decides to teach these newcomers a lesson. He orders his forward swarm ships to attack. Dozens of massive vessels, each the size of a city, move toward the human fleet. Their acid cannons charge up, ready to melt through enemy hulls. Time's up, Admiral Kane announces. What happens next shocks every species monitoring the battle. The human ships don't fire energy weapons or plasma beams, like civilized races. Instead, they launch thousands of solid metal projectiles moving at incredible speeds. Railguns, kinetic cannons, and mass drivers turn space into a storm of deadly metal. The Ravager ships, designed to absorb energy attacks, have no defense against physical projectiles. The metal slugs punch through their bio-armor like paper. Swarm ships that have terrorized the galaxy for centuries start breaking apart under the assault. But the humans are just getting started. Captain, Stone's destroyer Iron Fist fires something the galaxy has never seen before. Cluster missiles that split into hundreds of smaller warheads. Each warhead homes in on a different target. The Ravagers watch in horror as their fighter craft explode. By the dozens. Impossible, Crix roars. These primitives fight like barbarians. The human response comes from Colonel Ross over the general comm. You're right, we are barbarians. And you just attacked our friends. More human ships arrive through hyperspace portals. But these aren't just military vessels. Mining ships with industrial lasers join the fight. Cargo haulers modified with makeshift weapons. Even civilian vessels armed with hunting rifles and construction tools. Captain Nix watches from Vega Prime in amazement. They turned their entire civilization into a weapon, he whispers to Commander Vex. The battle spreads across the Vega system. Human Marines board damaged Ravager ships not with energy swords or stun weapons, but with chemical explosives and projectile guns. They fight through the corridors like they're clearing buildings back on Earth. The Ravagers discover that humans are physically weaker than many species, but they fight with a viciousness that terrifies even the galaxy's most feared predators. When a human Marine runs out of ammunition, they switch to blades, clubs, or their bare hands. War leader Crix tries to retreat to the outer system, but human ships are faster than they look. The sleek Ravager vessels can't outrun the crude human. Engines that burn hotter and push harder than any civilized species would dare. All swarm ships prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace, Crix orders. But Admiral Kane has planned for this. Human ships have surrounded the entire system with hyperspace jammers, another technology that most species consider too dangerous to use. Going somewhere? Kane's voice comes over the Ravager communication channels. The fight's just getting started. The Ravagers learn fear, war leader. Crix realizes he has made a terrible mistake. His swarm ships cannot escape the system, and the human attack grows more intense every minute. The Ravagers have always won through fear and overwhelming numbers, but these humans seem to feel no fear at all. All forces fall back to defensive positions, Crix orders his commanders. Prepare the planet killer weapon. The Ravagers have used this tactic before. When facing organized resistance, they threaten to destroy the planet they're trying to conquer. Most species surrender rather than watch their homeworld burn. The massive weapon charges up aboard Crix's flagship. It glows with dark energy that can crack a planet's core. Captain Nix receives the transmission on Vega Prime. Humans, withdraw your fleet or we destroy this world and everyone on it. But Admiral Kane's response surprises everyone. Go ahead. Try it. The Ravager weapon fires at Vega Prime, but the energy beam hits something unexpected. The humans have moved their largest ship, Terra's Wrath, directly between the weapon and the planet. The massive vessel takes the full blast of the planet killer and keeps flying. Impossible, Crix shrieks. Nothing can survive a direct hit from our core cracker. General Hayes' voice comes over the comm from inside Terra's Wrath. That tickled. Our turn now. The human flagship opens fire with weapons that make the planet killer look weak. Antimatter torpedoes streak toward the Ravager command ship. Each one carries enough power to vaporize a mountain. When they hit, Crix's flagship splits in half, but the real terror begins when human ground forces land on the occupied Kalari colonies. The Ravagers have spent centuries perfecting urban warfare, turning captured cities into death traps. Their ground troops have razor-sharp claws, acid spit, and armored shells that can stop most weapons. The humans don't care. Marine Captain Davis leads the assault on Colony 7. His troops carry weapons that would be banned on most civilized worlds. Flamethrowers, explosive charges, and chemical weapons that eat through Ravager armor like acid. Sir, the enemy has civilians as hostages, reports Sergeant Mills. Mark the hostage locations, Davis orders. We'll go around them, but everything else gets leveled. The humans fight through the colony streets like they're demolishing old buildings. When Ravagers hide in strong positions, the humans don't. Try to dig them out. They just collapse the entire building. The insect-like aliens have never faced an enemy that fights this way. Most species try to minimize damage and casualties. Humans maximize them. On Colony 5, Lieutenant Parks discovers something that makes him radio back to the fleet. Admiral, you need to see this. The Ravagers have been keeping prisoners. The human forces find underground chambers filled with survivors from dozens of conquered worlds. Aliens from 12 different species, kept alive to work as slaves in Ravager mining operations. Many have been prisoners for years. When Admiral Kane sees the footage, his voice becomes ice cold. All ships. New rules of engagement. No Ravager survivors. The order spreads through the human fleet. Until now, they had been fighting to drive off the invaders. Now they fight to destroy them completely. Captain Stone modifies his ship's weapons to fire something called cluster nukes, nuclear warheads that split into multiple explosions. Each one can level a city. He uses them on Ravager positions. Without hesitation, the few remaining Ravager commanders try to negotiate. They offer to release all prisoners and leave the system immediately. But the humans don't want negotiation anymore. You should have thought of that before you started eating people, Colonel Ross responds to their surrender offer. The battle becomes a hunt. Human ships track down every Ravager vessel trying to hide in asteroid fields or gas clouds. When they find them, there is no mercy. War leader Crix, badly wounded and commanding the last functional swarm ship, makes one final transmission. What are you creatures? We have conquered 100 worlds. We have devoured civilizations that ruled the stars before your son was born. Admiral Kane's reply spreads across every communication channel in the system. We're humans, and you made one mistake. You hurt our friends. The galaxy learns about humanity. 3 days after the first human ships arrived, the Vega system falls completely silent. No more Ravager transmissions, no more distress calls, no more battle noise. Species across the galaxy wait nervously for news. Captain Nix of the Kalari stands in his repaired command center. Looking at sensor readings he can barely believe. Every single Ravager ship has been destroyed. Not captured, not disabled. Completely eliminated. The human fleet achieved something no other species had managed in 1,000 years. "Captain," reports his sensor officer, "the human admiral is requesting permission to visit the surface." Admiral Kane arrives at the Kalari capital with a small escort of Marines. The blue-skinned aliens expect to meet conquerors who will demand tribute or territory. Instead, Kane simply asks, "Are your people safe? Do you need medical supplies or rebuilding materials?" The humans spend the next week helping repair the damaged colonies. Their engineering ships, the same ones that carried planet-cracking weapons, now deliver food, medicine, and construction equipment. Human medics work alongside Kalari doctors to treat the wounded. But the real shock comes when Captain Nix asks about payment for the military aid. "Payment?" Admiral Kane looks confused. "You called for help. We helped. That's what allies do." The concept puzzles many Kalari. In their experience, military aid always comes with a price. Territory, resources, political control, something. The humans ask for nothing except permission to build a small embassy and trading post. Word of the human victory spreads quickly across the galaxy. The proud Zephyrians, who refuse to help the Kalari, send diplomatic messages to Earth asking about mutual defense agreements. The technical Crystallians offer to share advanced technology in exchange for human military protection. But the most interesting response comes from the Elders of Proxima, the oldest and wisest species in the galaxy. Elder Prime Toll sends a personal message to Admiral Kane. "We have watched species rise and fall for 10,000 years. We have seen empires built on conquest, on trade, on technology. You are the first species we have observed that builds power through friendship." The human embassy on Vega Prime becomes the busiest building on the planet. Species that had never heard of Earth before suddenly want to establish relations. Some offer trade deals. Others ask for protection from pirates and raiders. A few simply want to understand how humans became so effective at warfare. General Hayes explains it to a gathering of alien military commanders. "Most species develop weapons to fight other civilized races. We developed weapons to fight anything and everything. On Earth, we had to survive ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, and each other. When you've spent 10,000 years trying not to go extinct, you get good at violence. But the humans also demonstrate something unexpected. They share their military technology freely with allied species, but only defensive systems. They teach the Kalari how to build better shields and early warning systems. They help smaller species create planetary defense networks. Captain Stone, now commanding a permanent patrol fleet in the Vega system, puts it simply, "We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to make sure bullies like the Ravagers can't hurt our friends." 6 months later, the effects of humanity's intervention continue to spread. Several species that had been terrorized by various raiders and conquerors send requests to Earth for military assistance. Each time, the human response is the same: overwhelming force followed by genuine aid and friendship. The Ravagers, meanwhile, have become a cautionary tale. The few survivors tell stories of the terrifying humans who fight without fear and show no mercy to those who prey on the innocent. Several aggressive species quietly abandon their expansion plans after hearing these accounts. Captain Nix, now commanding an integrated fleet of Kalari and human ships, reflects on how much has changed. "A year ago, we were helpless victims. Today, we patrol our space alongside the most feared military force in the galaxy, and they still ask us if we need anything." The story ends with a new distress signal reaching Earth. This time it comes from the distant Andromeda system, where a species called the Takaran faces annihilation from something called the Void Swarm. Admiral Kane reads the message and turns to his staff. "How long to get the fleet ready?" 12 hours, sir," Colonel Ross replies. "Good. Send the standard response." The message goes out across space to the desperate Takaran. "We got your message. Humans are coming. Hold your position. The galaxy has learned a simple truth. When you call for help, humanity answers with firepower and friendship."